Yo, new series that's definitely gonna get me canceled. I have never been more excited. I love starting new YouTube series that are gonna get me canceled. How to not write a female character. I'll tell you how this all started in a nutshell. Basically, I was saying that there's a lot of female characters out there that are really poorly written, and a lot of people are like, wow, that's sexist. I feel like this is just a really easy way to offend more people. So in every one of these videos, in the how to not write a female character, I'm gonna be talking about 4 female characters. 2 female characters that I think are written really goddamn well, and 2 female characters that are written really goddamn poorly. You can expect a lot of really goodies on this list. Oh, baby! In future episodes, you can definitely expect me to cover some characters from Fairy Tail, because I think Fairy Tail has a good mix of female characters written really well and female characters written really poorly. Dog, you can expect on the bad side all your Hinatas, your Sakuras, and that's not all. I'm also gonna cover Western stuff, baby. That's right, your Captain Marvels and your Velma. Sheesh, I have a special episode just for Rey from Star Wars. And I also am very excited to talk about the well-written ones, because I feel like a lot of them don't really get respect for how well-written they are. So let's just jump right into it, and I want to start off with a well-written character. That's right, we start off with talking about wholesome topics. We're gonna talk about Velma later in the video. It's gonna be fun. But for now, I wanted to talk about Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, if you look at Toph's character arc for just a moment, you'll see why it's so well written. Toph is a character who is given absolutely everything and help by everyone when she didn't need help. She is being treated like a cripple and like a prisoner because she's blind. She then decides to get to the point that she doesn't need help. She doesn't need anyone's help. And she'll start this massive journey on her own with her friends to save the world, fight in a war, you know, all sorts of crazy wacky shiz, where she eventually completes her character arc explaining to herself how it's okay to ask for help. It's a very cool and well-written storyline and story arc for a character. And as just a little detail, because I want to do an entire No One Understands Toph video at some point, I feel like it's so impressive how throughout the entire series you have like the gang forgetting Toph is blind and stuff, and that became like a whole running gag throughout the show that I'm gonna get canceled for saying that I like the gag that they forget. She's like, oh my god, is Nux pro-ableism? And the fact that people treat her like a functional member of society, and that is what makes her feel most comfortable. She was more comfortable around the people that forget she's blind and that treat her just like a human being than being around the people that are tiptoeing around her and making believe she doesn't even exist because she might be able to be used as a weakness against the very rich and esteemed Beifong family. What a beautiful and fantastic character arc for one of the most badass, powerful, and fantastic characters in the series. And guess what? She's also a woman. Being female in this show as this character does not change her character arc even a little. She has her funny feminine moment. She's running across the bridge over the water and she's sinking and she can't swim. Well, she's blind, so that makes sense. She doesn't even know what direction up is. And Tsuki jumps in and saves her, and she's like, oh, Sokka, you saved me. Oh, and then gives Tsuki a kiss, and Tsuki's like, oh yeah, it was me, it wasn't Sokka. And she's like,
well, you can go ahead and let me drown now.
Now that's a funny gag that would only work for a female character, and it works absolute wonders. It's a funny scene. It's a great moment. Being female is not the prime directive of writing Toph. Writing Toph was character first, gender second. And you'll notice that throughout this video and this series, that becomes the major flaw when it comes to modern day writing of female characters. A lot of the time they're just like, oh, we want a female character, so now let's figure out what this character's about that we've already decided she has booba. And the decision could be, we're gonna make her overpowered and epic because we want a badass female character, or it could be she'll be a damsel in distress character because we need a female character. I hate the fact that the we need a female character comes first, and then it's like, okay, now we'll make them two-dimensional in this way or that way. We just need her to be female. That's really not the feeling that you get when it comes to Toph. Toph has such a rounded character arc, and she's such a powerful and strong character. She's not a character that's always being rescued by others, even though she definitely has her flaws. They're a team at the end of the day. Toph is one of the most powerful characters in the Avatar world. She comes up with metal bending, a completely new, unfathomably strong style of earthbending. And you don't see people throughout the story being like, Toph invented metal bending? And she's a woman. No one says that in the entire story, because her being a woman is not necessarily relevant. It's the least sexist way of writing a female character. Writing a female character where everyone on the planet is just so impressed that, oh my god, a female character is doing these things, is essentially equivalent to being sexist. Or at least that's the major purpose of writing that female character.
You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender rules, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this this is an exception and not the status quo.
Whenever I see a female character where everyone's wowed by the little things that she does because she's a woman, I'm thinking, okay, I'm now recognizing the fact that the reason why she's here and she's a character that strong is for that illicit sexist reaction. That's literally the point of the character, and it's not for Toph. Toph is just an extremely well-written character that happens to be female. And yes, her being female and lack of feminine in some moments definitely plays on that gag. She's always against going to the spas and stuff because, oh, I'm not a girly girl like that, bro. I'm just not like that. And she does at some point and she actually likes it. And that doesn't detract from her character at all. You want a female character that people respect, a female character that people want to respect because of her actual, you know, her character. Now, since I went ahead and talked about a very well-written, badass female character, I want to talk about a poorly written badass female character. I was thinking of talking about Sakura here, but I felt like it wouldn't be as good enough of a contrast because, to be fair, Sakura is not ever, even for a minute in the show, like, oh man, there's Sakura, look how she's a badass, the way she tells Naruto she loves him right after throwing him to the wolves. Let me first go ahead and talk about Asuna from Sword Art Online. Now, Asuna is a very badass character, and she does a lot of really cool things in Sword Art Online. I do, however, think they're overshadowed by the fact that they're like, okay, but she's a girl also, and she loves Kirito, who's lonely, brooding, and edgy. And this is especially apparent in the later seasons. If you're not caught up with the lore, I watched all of Sword Art Online. I know most of you probably stopped after season 1 or season 2, if you watched it at all. I watched all of it. So I have the ultimate formulated takes here. And I think Sword Art Online is, are you ready? Mid. That's right. I'm not one of those epic Sword Art Online haters. In fact, I think Sword Art Online Season 1 was damn good. Asuna, on the other hand, is just not really a good character. She's introduced as this epic badass. And you definitely know that was what they were going for. They used to call her Lightning Flash Asuna. They based her nickname off Minato from Naruto. They're like, all right, who's the coolest freaking character we could think of? Yeah, we're gonna base, that's her nickname now. And she's definitely introduced as this badass character, and I do think she was somewhat badass, especially in the beginning. They go up against the first floor boss, they fight this boss, it's an epic battle, Kirito and Asuna battling it out. She's kind of a brooding lonester, he's kind of a brooding lonester, but he was just too brooding and too lonester for her, so he ends up ditching her, and she just joins a guild where she becomes extremely powerful and well known, and she falls in love with Kirito. This is where it kind of all goes a little downhill. There is no reason why she should be falling in love with Kirito. And of course, she knows that, which is why she's tsundere about it. The entire story in the first couple episodes, she's like, well, I'm making you food because I think you'll be hungry, Baka. And it's like, oh God, dude, we know you're in love with him and we don't know why. And it makes no sense. And you don't know why either. So you're covering it up with the tsundere thing. And then for no reason, aside from the fact that he's like relatively badass, she's like, oh man, your sword is so big. Oh. And then she kind of ends up just simping for him a lot. And he saves her because he's put into a position where, of course, he saves her and he's just epic like that. And then she saves him back because, of course, he's put into a position where he's almost dying because of her, and she likes him like that. And then, oh, they kiss, and now they're married, and then they have a daughter, and then, of course, she has her cooking skill maxed out to 100. Yeah, of course, she's this epic fighter, but she's a girl, too, guys, and she likes cooking, too. Who let her cook? Well, she let her cook. Her character throughout the story is continually being pushed as a powerful character. Every time she's mentioned with reverence. I personally feel like all the badassery points that she builds up throughout the series and the reverence that she gets from the other characters by being some sort of high status, powerful person just serves the point that Kirito got the best girl. You see, all the girls in the show freaking love Kirito. He ends up like in trouble in Alice's Asian arc. He's like, bro, let's summon the harem. And they go ahead and summon all the girls throughout the story that wanted his. So all those women throughout, they all go ahead to save the day. And of course, Asuna leads the charge. And of course, Asuna even meets up with Alice, who's the character in the Alice's Asian arc that of course falls in love with Kirito for unknown reasons because she's like this god level being. And she's like, yeah, but she's scared of heights. And Kirito protected her and she was scared of heights. Wow, this just became an entire tirade against female characters in Sword Art Online. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, eventually when she meets Asuna, they get into this whole fight. No, Kirito loves me more. No, Kirito loves me. You know, I like Kirito.
Kirito is mine. Understand? Ridiculous. Be good from here.
When you want to write a badass female character, step 1, make them badass. Step 2, make them female. This was the other way around. It was step 1, she's a female that's in love with Kirito. Now, how do we make Kirito more epic if she's also a badass? That is a formula for disaster, and that is why I think all the women in Sword Art Online, Asuna just being the main character, which is why she had the brunt of my hatred, that's why I think they're very poorly written. But when you want to write a female character, make them badass for their own merit. Don't make them badass just so that the dude that they love is cooler because he had the riz to nail him. On to like more general Western media. I'm gonna get canceled. First, I want to talk about a really well-written Western media character. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, all right, Western media, female character, there must be lots of good ones. We have so many shows doing that stuff, you know? And the answer is yes. I could think of quite a lot of very well-written female characters in Western media, and a lot of really poorly written ones. So this part is gonna probably be the more controversial area of the video. I don't think if I roast some anime waifu, they're like, bro, she's a waifu, like, who cares? I'm gonna do Velma for the bad one, because that's easy, but for the good one, I want to talk about Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul. Now, as far as like career-driven female characters, most of them in like comedy-type shows really fall flat. Now, Kim Wexler is everything that a female character needs to be. I think she's by far one of the most captivating characters in Better Call Saul, and the way that she evolved throughout the entire story, breathtaking character development. Saul Goodman is one of the best written characters in Western fiction, without a doubt. And you have such dynamic other characters like Mike that throughout the show are so captivating. Freaking Chuck is a ballad of fantastic character writing. Even someone like Howard or Lalo. The cast is stacked out of its mind with fantastic characters. And so much of Better Call Saul is the downward spiral. You have the whole meme, the Slippin' Jimmy meme. You know, you got Jimmy McGill, Saul's real name. Jimmy's this dude, Slippin' Jimmy. He'll always start falling. He'll always go back to slipping. And he has this relationship with Kim Wexler, someone who literally started from the bottom but made it up through the corporate world. And she's basically, without saying it, because thank God they didn't do this in the show, she's basically the best lawyer in the entire show. And you can see that by the way that she acts and carries herself and actually becomes a person of standing and repute through her actions. It's not like, well, Kim Wexler, even though she's a woman, she's the best lawyer in Better Call Saul. They don't do that at all. Thank God. It was a very show don't tell situation, which I respect so much. Being that Slippin' Jimmy and Kim have some sort of relationship, she keeps falling back down into the mud with him. She loves and respects him, sticks her neck out for him time and time again. It causes her a lot of heartbreak. She ends up falling down this rabbit hole herself. She ends up getting in much too deep. She ends up causing something that winds up getting someone killed. And that is way too far. She just was trying to, you know, flex on him a little bit. Things got a little too wild, and she really decided to change her life decisions going forward. She is a character that is so decisive throughout the entire show. She has a very interesting moral character that changes and fluctuates and flickers due to the actions that other people do throughout the story. And what's so fantastic is this career-driven, powerful person makes her own mind up and makes her own decisions throughout, ends up, spoilers for a little bit at the end, in a situation where she's so scared to make a decision. In the entire final part, like the second half of the final season, whatever she would do, you'd notice her indecisiveness. Every time someone would tell her, like, what do you want? And she'll say, well, I'll do whatever you want. She became a shell of her former self because of the regret and mistakes that she's made. She's not a character that was put on some sort of crazy pedestal that she's the best lawyer ever. She made mistakes like a real freaking person would, and she took accountability for her mistakes like a real freaking person should. Now that is a really, really well-written female character. She didn't just purely act as a build-up for Saul's character, or someone to just be some sort of trauma or baggage for Saul. And goddamn, did she deserve all the awards she won by acting in that show. I want to move on now to Velma. She's a character that doesn't know what she is or what she's doing. Throughout the entire story, there are so many conflicting ideals throughout. That she's a person of color, and therefore she's being mistreated, except that's literally not the case at all. She's just insufferable. That she's ugly, and therefore no one loves her, which is not true, because Norville actually loves her for most of the show. And then when Norville has a girlfriend, Fred actually loves her. Yeah, that's right. On the behest of my rabid audience, I have been watching the entirety of Velma. I'm almost done, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Oh my god, it's so bad. She's a character that's trying to be meta and funny, but she winds up just disrespecting her own premise more often than not. It's like she's trying to show the idea that women that aren't conventionally beautiful should be respected anyway, because there's a serial killer that's only killing hot women. What? Is that really how you're trying to promote that concept or ideals, especially when you're a character that, you know, most of the main cast actually falls in love with? And when I say most of the main cast, I mean Daphne thought she was straight until she met Velma. You're literally cucking your own lessons here at every possible turn. This is a character piece, a brilliant character story, making every character as insufferable and poorly written as you possibly can. I feel like every possible and potential agenda that this story could have when it comes to introducing characters and making them well written and trying to focus on some sort of social commentary, it ends up backfiring 100-fold and shooting themselves in the foot.
I thought lesbians were good at solving crimes. It's like the one positive stereotype perpetuated by cop shows.
All the problems that Velma, you know, the person of color, the person that's not conventionally beautiful, the person that's overweight, the person that needs glasses, the person that's probably mentally disabled, or maybe I am for watching this much of this show. I'm gonna do a full series review on this show when it's done. I'm just letting you know. I will do that. Don't quote me on that in case I change my mind. It is really, really bad at the end. I still have like 2 episodes left, but god damn. So despite the fact that it's trying to be a commentary on all of these issues, it's not, because she has everything that she possibly could want. And it's not that she's a good person, except she's fat and that's why people don't like her. No, she's a horrible, vindictive, manipulative, disgusting person throughout the entire story. Of course people don't like her. It actively works its hardest to negate every possible social commentary it could possibly have. Now, as a rule, I don't love fictional stories that are jackhammered full of social commentary. But if they are, at least let the commentary part hit. And it didn't. I don't know who let the writers of this show cook, but I goddamn hope they get freaking annihilated with health code violations. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't cancel me. How not to write a female character. I'm really excited for the series. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to future editions, where I could talk about how Daenerys is a well-written character in the beginning of Game of Thrones and a horribly written character by the end of the Game of Thrones show. I think that'll be honestly such a fun episode of this too. If you want someone to just speak their mind and say the things that everyone wanted to be saying forever but are scared to. Twitter hates me anyway, so I'll do it. So subscribe to me. Leave likes and subscribe. Do all of that. Share my stuff to everyone on the planet. Stay weird, fam.